I just want to say much love for clicking on the thumbnail and listening to more of the conversations that I have that are much deeper than surface level. I bring guests on that are comfortable within their vulnerability so they can share their difficult experiences of how they overcame those adversities with love. And they live today a much different life than a repetitive emotional cycle of self-sabotage. That's what this podcast does. It just attracts humans that are okay to talk about these kind of things that have taken place in their life and share that information with others so that they can grow in theirs. My guest today is Peiming. She's a woman who has faced many adversities within understanding herself through her personal growth. She became divorced at 30 with 2 young children, left a high-paying job to discover what else she could do in this life as the universe took away all of the comforts she had in her life only to teach her how to be comfortable in her discomfort, which I think is absolutely amazing because her story is very relatable for many individuals who are facing single parenting. And I think that, learning through each other from real experience is how we can see power within a powerless situation or a situation that can feel powerless. She's also working with gene keys, which is essentially a map that can be created out of our experiences to help us become more aware of what our emotions are trying to teach us. We go a little bit into that as well. But really, for me, it's more important to bring resources for you to connect with areas in your life that you're looking to heal from. And Peiming is a wonderful example of what a resource can look like through human experience. So I hope you enjoy the podcast episode as much as I did having the conversation. I appreciate you for, being here and supporting and just growing. That's really the thing I care the most about is your practice. So I appreciate you for appreciating yourself. Much love. What I have found with these 30-minute conversations is that sometimes the conversations are so good that I'm like, this is the
Just use it.
podcast. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I
Mhm.
made the mistake once of not hitting record and I was like, I'll never do that again. So,
Smart move. Yeah, I'm doing this. Sometimes I just like, yeah, we just record it, but I say, but I think actually the one-on-one before is even better than this one. But I didn't record it at one-on-one. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
I know. I loved your energy and I checked out your Facebook a little bit about like what you do and how you talk and how you speak and who you are. And I thought, wow, like this is cool. This is nice to see within your age demographic. Not that that means anything from an internal perspective, but
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
experience that you have on this planet. A
Yeah.
lot of individuals at your age are closed off, and change can be difficult, and culture can interfere with personal growth due to
Mm.
learned behaviors and whatnot. So it's interesting to see you step outside of that.
Yeah, well, that is what I really intrigued by your share too, because everybody has different stories. We all coming from somewhere we don't like to
Yeah.
be, right?
Yeah.
But it's really become personal choice. Do you want to stay there to complain, to angry, or sooner or later you'll find a way out and say, oh, that's the setup. We just need to go through it. So then you can flip it to the other side, right? So for my journey, I'm immigrant to this country. I came here about 24 years old-ish, and now it's like 30 years already passed. So I came in here just to experience. In the beginning, I want to get my degree. My parents really, the Asian family is
Yeah.
really just like education, education, education. Yeah, so I through that, I can pass the test and stuff, but very young age, I already know, academics is really not for me. I like to learn, but I more like to observe the human behaviors other than the concept science information. Because science for me, yes, the data, I still collect data, but when I shift the focus, there's more data for me to collect. They
Right.
got more fun and say, oh, someone react to this and like, oh, it's not the same like the yesterday. So I start to get more curious about human behavior, even give me more different cultural exposure than my own life's story. I actually just go into the ascension process. Now I look at that. It's from my 30, I'm already get into the ascension process because that is my major key and my gene keys, my evolution key is ascension. So I actually see that right now. It's like, wow, my marriage falling apart, my job falling apart, and I have to move for so many times, just kind of ditch it and back something in the boxes and throw it away. Um, so the ascension process is really starting early on for me. So, and I also see other people have different reaction toward the losses, right? Like you just don't want to let go. You think I'm supposed to be like this, but then I'm pulling the other directions. And again, that's a choice. How are you going to perceive that things? I was totally sitting on this angry side. It's like, why me? Right? It's just like bubbling up, bubbling up. I'm just gaining a lot of weight and my health is not good. I look much older than I'm here 20 years ago. Um, but so that I didn't really understand. I'm just surviving as a single mom. I'm immigrant and I don't have a job, on the market. I don't know what I need to do. So I'm just create fun things for me to survive. So I become food truck operator for 10 years. And
Okay.
I travel around other people's house to prepare their meal because I know this ancient cooking Taoism, they don't even understand. It's all energy. So I'm just embody with what I see my parents, my grandparents, how they cook. So I share the knowledge in front of people. I travel to their house. Then I own a restaurant for 3 years. So all that, and after COVID, I say, wait a minute, I'm like totally derailed about human behaviors. But I see more human behavior when I become food truck operator and restaurant owner.
Right.
So when people coming to eat, they have the opinions about food and about something's not good for them. It's like, wow, this is like a lot of shows I can watch.
Yeah.
But right now, I think the turning point by after COVID, so busy with the food truck, no one want to go out to eat, right? So the food truck has been invited to the community. So in 3 4 hours, I have to serve 200 people. It is just insane.
Yeah.
In
Of
my
course.
age, even my younger son, he refused to go anymore. I said, no, I have it. I don't want to do that busy thing. So then pot drop, right? And I don't have anything on my plate. That's how I get to online. I say, yeah, I have all this observation, my ascension process, and I'm interested into the ancient wisdom. And I embody also all my lineage from Chinese culture. So that's how I become who I am today.
That's, it's interesting the journey, how, the divorce happens, there's moving, all this moving, the job change and all this thing. It's like externally from us, the universe is teaching us to let
Yeah.
go of things when inside we must practice the same behavior. But it's difficult to do that because, like you said, we start thinking about, oh, why me? Why is this happening to me? So then you started to gain weight because you're like, probably depressed and confused and upset.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
food
yeah.
makes you feel good. So let's fill the void when really it was like, no, all that's supposed to come out in the first place. But that's where we lack the education. And I love witnessing. I am the exact same as you. I love to witness human experience and human behavior. To me, throughout my journey of drug addiction, I had no idea I was familiar with human behavior and psychological patterns and behaviors until I learned the lesson and I came out of it and I was like, oh wow, that was my class like in Earth School. Like this is what I absolutely love to do. I love to learn about human and human behavior and see, similar to you with the ascension process, how we can create the movement together. You know, so because you and I, yeah, of course, we're a vital part of the whole movement, but we need everybody to do it. So
Yeah.
it's like, how can I get good at human math and figure out algorithms by using myself as the equation and
Mm.
try and put together a formula that other people will be inspired by so that they can adopt their own experiences into the formula and create their transformation within themselves, because like
Mm.
I can't do it, you know, and
Yes,
all I can
exactly.
do is try and be such an artist and so creative that they're like, yeah, like I'm on to that guy, you know, I think I
Yeah,
can work with
yeah.
what he's got. So that's
Mhm.
very similar to me. The food truck is an interesting journey as well, though, part of the process. I love that.
I have a handicapped younger son, so I don't mind to drive bigger vehicle. But when the first time I saw my 20-foot long trailer in front of my driveway, I said, "Oh, holy crap, how can a man drive that big monster? I don't have any space. And how can I park it? Drive with all the food. If I miss a turn and I got stuck somewhere, so it's just really the first time like, whoa. But I know I'm very curious. That's how I become a scientist. I just say, well, if someone like that can do it, why not me, right? So I take a while to practice that. Then I'm so proud of myself. One time I went to an event, they have very narrow streets. I'm coming, then the guy looked at me and said, "Do you need help to park?" And I say, "Let me try first, right?" And they're like, and they're like,
What?
"How do why Shane is that?" Well, I learn, I practice. So
Yeah,
it's just like people perception about who you are. Sometimes if you don't have a confidence,
right,
you just become bring in with what they think who you are.
right. Very,
The
very,
judgment, the tuning, because we are all biofield tuning fork. So if we don't know what the vibration we are, we just totally bring in with other people, then think that is the right thing for us. But eventually we will say we don't need to.
right. Like the individual was creating like the man who was judging your situation and appearance and your abilities was essentially creating fear within himself and then trying to embed that fear within you. And it might not have been derogatory or anything like that. He was probably seriously concerned, but you were like, no, no, that's okay. That's for you. I got this. I'm going to step up and try. And I think like that is the power that I speak of a lot within the my talks is taking back that power and really understanding that. And even if you would have hit something, it's like, yeah, okay, I hit something going 2 kilometers an hour, big deal. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't really matter because I'm trying to get better at something, but you stepped up
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
challenge. That's what I pictured
Mm.
you in that food truck, and I was like, no way. Like, I love this.
Yeah, but I did several crazy things. One time I was in the church serving. There's a big trees around the church property, and the guy said, "Oh, when you park here." I said, "Okay." So I parked there. Then I hear the bang sound. I said, "What is going on?" Actually, the exhaust fan got knocked out by the tree. It's like I was trust them. They should
Right.
let me know I'm gonna hit someone, but they just
Right.
like looking in my trailer without looking out, and I just that's $3,000 just ran out. I said,
Yeah.
okay, because
Yeah.
I trust
Lesson
the wrong
learned.
person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I learned my lesson. So
I'm curious if you'd be open to talk a little bit about life as a single mother. I think that there, as an immigrant into a new country, all of these things go away from you. I don't think it matters what color or race or culture you come from. Being a single mother is something that many people can associate with, and it's no easy task, but it's very, very common these days. So,
yeah.
like that
Mhm.
when that first experience happened, when you knew it was over, do you mind if I ask like how did that transpire? Just to kind of maybe help anyone in the situation who is facing a similar thing. I mean, I respect you for knowing that was something was ending, or being brave enough and courageous enough to start a new journey on your own.
Yeah, I mean that is 20 some years ago. It's early 2000. So it really I can see there's no way I can handle three kids. I got two young kids and one big kid.
Okay.
So it's easier to handle two young kids. They listen and I can help them to become a better human being. But a big kid, really, I cannot change. I
Right.
realize that it's not my call to
Right.
change somebody else when they are adults. Even with young kids, I don't think I have any right to change. I can only provide the
Right.
environment. So with that realization and also determination, I think I can do it. That time full-time job, I'm very well paid. I'm
Yeah.
the scientist. So I have money to pay daycare. I can, hire this, hire that. So I don't have problem with becoming a single mom.
Right.
But I can totally see someone at different boats.
Right.
It depends financial from the partners, and then they have to go through that alone and have to, even worse, have to fight with the case to get such help support, right? So I didn't even do that at all.
I think the magical thing that you just said there was your responsibility to provide a new environment. And I
Mhm.
think that is just an amazing way of putting that because yes, of course, money and finance will be up to the individual who steps up to create a new life or provide a new environment for their children. And I
Yeah.
believe even, the universe, it rewards that behavior when we cleanse the energy within a very toxic relationship because we're not afraid anymore to step outside of our boundaries and take a risk on ourselves. The universe rewards that. We just don't value it because we're not having too many conversations about it. But
Yeah.
right, that's definitely where we can have these
Yes.
conversations. So I
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
loved how you said that. Um,
Mhm.
you're a scientist in what field? What do you do?
I'm the molecular biologist and microbiologist. So I actually doing the genetics cloning to create a platform so we can do the target selection, like, run through certain compounds to see whether that gene we clone has been inhibited. So then we can use the same knowledge to try to apply to the drug. So we can create a compound similar like that to inhibit that particular gene, then we can use it for the human clinical trial. So maybe the compound can be the next blockbusters.
So if
That's
they're
all.
if they clone genes though,
Mhm.
is this for within fertility or
No, it's just like we are doing the antibacterial.
okay,
So it's not like human disease, right? It's like anti-infection. So it's easier to clone some kind of pathogen genes
okay,
into some kind of vector. Then we can see what kind of compound can inhibit the growth of that certain bacteria or gene. They have function. We can do the functioning test, right? If we think the gene A is causing the infection, we don't want the bacterial to have the A gene. Once bacteria infect us, we get in the drug, will turn down the gene A expression. So then we are not hurt by that bacterial. So the process is really linear, right? It's like, okay, A to B, we don't want the B symptom. So if we inhibit the A, then we shouldn't get B symptom.
right, right,
But we all know this is not realistic because we are living in the quantum world. That's how I get back to see all my genetics and molecular biology. Now I shift that to the quantum view because the linear thinking all the pharmaceuticals still doing is not working.
right. It's more of a symptom cure. It never really, offers any kind of results that are
Mhm.
alleviating to a point where one can overcome all that ails it.
Yeah,
Which is
yeah,
why I
yeah.
stepped into this field as well, is because I really started to understand the value in processing dense energies and seeing that, self-healing and the fountain of youth or whatever people are like, these are things people look for, they want to heal, they want to be
Mhm,
young,
mhm.
they want to be beautiful, they want to
Yeah.
be all these things, except the world has taught them that that can be bought and found externally from you. If you just change yourself, if you just take this pill, put a little more chemical on your face, you're going to look just the way you wanted to look when you were 20. But really, it's like you're trying to, change something externally to fix something internally. And it's like that's never ever been a way that anything would work, which is why marketing and advertising are just such a heavy part of daily life is because we don't want you to think about the internal aspect of
Mm,
anything, but
mm.
when we do, things shift. So you're currently working with energy now.
Yeah, and because everything we all know, everything's energy. It's a different way you can define them. You know, maybe the frequency, maybe the sensation, maybe some kind of boost. You know, emotions, whatever you can call that, different pulse, right? So I see that I using that to let people aware their inner energy using the esoteric systems because those ancestors really they are just the observers. They put down the information. They don't sell the product. They only observe. They put down and share. So they don't really have a bias that much yet in that time. And also they are using more like a symbol. So it's not everybody understand what they're passing down. They can be using the language translation and a bit that, right? Like thousand years, we have all different version translations.
Right.
But it's only when you get connect to that quantum level, you understand the word is a frequency. The chanting or whatever the vibration, actually the vibration is not the definition. Then you start to understand the essence of what they're teaching. That's my shift. I start to embody, and also I believe I'm guided somehow. So then I start to flow with that level of understanding.
Right.
So I using that intuition connection I have to share people's profile based on esoteric system. And they can use that as a tool for them to self-heal, to be happy, to create the reality they want, or they can just fall in love with themselves again. Because most of us, just because we don't like ourselves, we have this wrong image in this unreal world about who we are, right?
Right.
But once you get into the real world about inside and who you are, your essence, and you really don't see anybody as your enemy. It's just you see yourself as a wrong definition, then you kind of judge other based on you. It's a reflection,
Do you
right?
do you see that pattern of thinking as being spiritual? Do you think that that's spirituality?
Well, spirituality, different meaning for anybody. For me, it's really connections. How I connect with myself, how I connect with the source, how I see myself as a part of the whole, or where I separate from the whole.
Okay, interesting.
But
Yeah,
that is
my
the spirituality for me. I don't get, growing in Taiwan, that's the very enriched environment for religions.
yes. Well,
So
world.
I hop around, I understand, I do the study with certain group, I enjoy the interaction. But whenever they go to the point, do you want to join us the membership? And I always say, you are not the whole thing.
Right.
I don't
Right.
need to join you. I need to know you. I need to love you, but I don't need to join the membership.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always got kicked out on all those things. I say, that's fine. So I just don't think I include you, but if you don't include me, that's fine with me.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
That's funny. When I was in confirmation as a child, my grandmother was, real big in religion. She wanted us all to do that. I questioned things so much within religion that I got kicked out because he didn't like that I was questioning every aspect of what he was talking about. So it was very interesting. I agree with you though with spirituality. It's inclusive. It's equality. And it's so personal, right? Like
Mhm.
it is a connection between you and something else, but I think people have become so disconnected from their true authentic selves because their belief system within themselves was altered at a very young age because they practiced pretending to be somebody they weren't, that
Yes.
now that identity that they've sold to the world and to themselves is confusing when they're trying to navigate back to their true authentic self. It's because they all of the decisions or most of the decisions and choices they've made is to serve this altered identity of somebody that people will like, or will not be faced with conflict, or whatever it may be, to hide from their true authentic self. And I think that that's where we're really trying to pull back to this core essence of being vulnerable and tapping back into it.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
how
But
do you,
we just it's really I believe is the fear,
yeah.
right? If you feel safe, you say something different, nobody will treat you different. Then you got more courage to share, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. But the world, again, just like marketing and advertising, they are marketing and advertising fear, ideas of
Yes.
success, ideas of beauty, debts and mortgage loans and loan, and you're never going to have enough money and materialism. It's like, oh my gosh, like who am I? I like how am I supposed to fit into this world where I don't have enough and I'm not enough? It's like it just cultivates that through all the practices of the
Yes.
external world. So how does helping with the esoteric knowledge, like where you were saying that you build a profile on someone and then you're able to help them in that way? How does that work? I think it's important for people to like I want them to connect with the resource that you are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's all we are all have every information. It's just all inside of us. We need to embody them out, right? So my program is really embodiment and manifestation because you need to embody and know you have it so you can make it happen. So what I did is really redid the soul spiritual genetic codes. That's based on the one of the ancient system called Kabbalah. It's a ancient Hebrew Kabbalah, and also combined with Chinese hexagram. That's the you can call I Ching or I Ching.
Okay.
It's the six line of yin and yang combination. That is also the binary system 0 and 1. So that is the fundamental of everything happen in the universe. We built based on that system. But Kabbalah also give us this science or the mechanics of the creation. So from the ancient Kabbalists, they share actually we are already, the creation is complete. So there's nothing wrong we don't have. We already
Right.
got everything. But what we have is the process for ascension. So we descending out, but then we have ascension back, right? So on the ascension process is really just to take out your human coat.
Right. Right.
But like when
Yeah.
in the process, someone hold it tight, someone don't feel safe, you
Right.
feel the wrong different idea. But for me, it's just for people understand the gene keys, which are using the tool. Actually, genekeys.com is not my stuff. It's someone has been doing that since 2009, and I really admire his work. His name is Richard Rod, and I'm become one of his translator to this Gene Keys book.
Okay.
I don't have the book with me, but
Gene
he
Key's
is
book.
he is just amazing with this contemplation. So he created this Gene Keys. It's become a movement right now for us to understand. We have all the codes. They
Can,
are kind of a secret. We have a different keys to open all the doors. Once you open one, you shift your consciousness to a different level. You start to open all the doors.
so describe the Gene Keys a little more. Like, what does this look like? First, actually,
For
wait.
Gene Keys, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I was going to say maybe we should touch on what you said first about the ability to tap into this whole essence of understanding, because this is where everyone is so, not everyone, but most people are so lost. Is like, what do you mean you want me to unlearn and take off my human self? It's like, well, yeah, because the human self has been manipulated to believe that it isn't enough and then it needs to be provided for by an exterior source when that's just
Mhm.
not correct. And I wanted just to hit on that, first, because people are confused and they, they see me, they've heard my story or listen to the stuff I say, and here's, you're another human that I have on here, and they're listening to your story and like, how do you two guys have this thing, this peace, this love? And it's because we were able to step through that fear and say all of the difficult experiences and the difficult emotions and the ideas and belief systems that we had about ourselves, we decided to
Yeah,
change. And that's
yeah.
not easy to do. And I never lie to anyone because it's not, but Anything you
Or
practice.
different paths. You know, sometimes we choose the tough path because we want a fast path. So,
That's right.
right, you
Yeah.
know, someone easy maybe take so many lifetime, but if we want to do that 1 or 2 lifetime, we have to take very serious about everything we have to give away. So
That's
it really
right.
depends on how we choose to be experience our path.
Yeah.
Um,
And for myself, you know, I know that I have progressed at such a rapid rate is the people that I surround myself with. I certainly am not around energy that has me, you know, judging other individuals or believing in an embellished ego or materialism or someone else's idea of success and beauty. I don't live in those spaces, and I don't have individuals like that around me. So I've cleaned the energy in my environment. And then
yeah.
my mind, this is the place where we're the biggest mess. This is a this is constant to this day. I mean, this is why I am my greatest achievement, because I'm in here all day cleaning
Oh, yes,
the
yes, yes.
mess. Like
Mhm.
anytime it's acceptable for ego to be embellished in any way, like judgment or, oh, look at me, or praise, or, you know, jealousy, whatever it may be, I address that immediately. And I remind myself that that is not who I am and that I am somebody new. And that's how we clean it. And then we move to the heart and we talk about
Mhm.
this ascension process
Mhm,
where
mhm,
you're
mhm.
able to tap into these gene keys. So the gene key process, for those that have cleaned the environment, have cleaned the mind, and are at this heart process, what does this look like?
Well, if Jinky is actually is kind of like the shadow work. So you really need to go to the dark night of the soul.
Okay.
But we also learn about it's not a process. It's all happen. Your shadow, your gift, your city, that's your light, your pure light. That's different spectrum of the consciousness. It's all coexist at the same time.
Okay.
So once you have your profile create, actually create the called golden path. So there's 3 different sequence: activation sequence, Venus sequence, and the pearl. And that gives us this different spectrum of the consciousness, each sphere. Like the first one is called life work, then the evolution, radiance, purpose. You have attraction sphere, then you have EQ, IQ, EQ, SQ. That's like relationship with yourself. Then you have the pearl. So it's, everything is actually has a meaning, and you use the number with the 1 to 64 number. So when you do the contemplation, you actually understand your core gifts, and you know you are here to attract certain relationships, certain experience. Then but it's totally up to us how we choose to respond to it. If we choose to be the shadow frequency, which is really the in fear, that's how we default in the fear level. Everybody start to that default. But once you see that your individual sphere, in totally 12 of them, then you contemplate about different level, but they are all happen in the same time. The time is really an illusion, like
Right.
based on science.
Yeah.
So it's become like how you choose to respond. But you can see there's a possibility for everything you do, you can make that choice, right? And then you become more confident and say, well, I'm not in the dark. I have this roadmap for me
Right.
to kind of see, okay, I'm in the radiance sphere, which, for example, that's the most important key on the old path, because that's for our happiness. So in that key, you can say, oh, in the low vibe, for example, I am the 51, so my low vibe is agitation. So whenever I feel agitated, I feel unease and something, that's because I'm in the shadow frequency.
Okay.
Then I say, well, I don't want to be in that frequency. Let me make another option. So my gift is initiative. So I can say, oh, I agitated. Maybe I need to create some different thing. So I don't really fight with the things that I don't like. Other, I just create something I like. That's the shift. But once you see that, you say, I can actually make that choice from agitation become initiative. And the higher is just I using that agitation become a fuel for me to awake. So my highest awakening for that spirit.
Right. So it is, I like it. I think that any resources that can be offered to humans to ascend and to understand their human experience, to ascend to their spiritual experience, is beneficial. But this is interesting because you create the profile is essentially creating a map of the experience. So then we have reference points to
Yeah.
become aware,
Mm.
even in our difficulties. More so, the difficulties are a part of the
All of the,
process
yes,
to
yes, yes.
become
Mm.
aware and to
Mm.
alchemize negative
Yes.
energies, dense energies, into positive ones, or at least allow us to think before we react. So it's essentially tunes the human into a new pattern of thinking. And I think that that's beautiful. I mean, that's really great. I never had a map. I had to, I had to do it all just up in my freaking brain, man. And I'm highly visual, but actually, that's not
Mm.
true because my map was my human experience.
This is let's get to somebody else the profile. So that's you can see the map. It's just totally like that. You know, color coded. Green color is activation. Red color is the Venus, and blue color is the Pearl. So
Okay.
this is really I just put it out there every day. I just like contemplate it. You know, oh, you know, I can make the choice, and you know that's not me either. This is only the 3D. We are
Right.
multidimensional, so this is only the reference for 3D, not us.
It's not us. It's
Yeah.
exactly it. Like that's the illusion is that we think that society or the world that we've been, the reality of our world that we have, the belief system that we've been brought up in is
Mhm.
Peiming is Asian. And she
I'm
has
the female. Yeah.
tan
Mhm.
skin, female. She has gray hair. When that's, oh, okay, it's a container for the light. And the essence of the light is the true self or pieces of the one self. So
Yeah.
that's where we're going back into these esoteric knowledge of understanding. And it's difficult for people to accept that because that would mean that everything that we've been taught is a lie. And why would anyone want to lie to us on such a mass worldwide level? Well, it
Yeah.
wasn't it wasn't always like that. Like there is esoteric knowledge in places all around the world, which is why we have pyramids all around the world, because the
Yes. Yes.
pyramids were a separate time and it was a time of consciousness where we were expanding globally as one. But there came a time where individuals embellished ego and other things were transpiring and they believed that the greater good was for a supreme being, and that would leave many, many people out of it. And that's the current reality we live in because to have people believe that they are less or more than one another is just the model we're living in. And I know that that system is crumbling because
Yeah.
it's just ineffective.
Yeah, yeah, that's how the once you know the integrity, like it's not only just the morale, like human has set of a different integrity and then the whole thing, right? The integrity is really just cover the whole area. So the shadow and the light, right? But most of us just trained to only see the bad side and don't want the best, this only want to be a good side and
Right.
don't admit I have the best side. So try to hide it or try to kind of point it to somebody. So, oh, they are doing that, so they need to be punished. But is it because that is again is that we lose that sense of a self because we don't really separate from the whole, but because the illusion we start to think about like I'm the bad guy, he's the good guy, so we always have a conflict. And I like the analogy. I heard a lot of people sharing their insights. I like the ones that we are always have this default think about this or that, right? And we can only choose one side of a coin.
Okay.
Then until we finally integrate, oh, it's a two sides of a coin, so this and that. But finally, we know this is that.
Right.
The shadow is light, light is a shadow. They are just the same thing. It's just different way we see it, we label it, we give them a definition. But it's our way to see the world, which is not wrong or right. It's everybody need to see it differently. That's how we create differently. We have a different design, we have a different, desire, and we have a different experience. But that whole thing is all the whole thing. So we
Right.
can enrich the whole environment. So even the bad thing let us feel bad or at a certain time, it's so violence, but it needed there. If you don't have that, we don't have a way to strive to go to incorporate the whole thing and become healed.
Right, exactly. And we get stuck on this idea of perfectionism or fitting in and going along with the flow of people who are all trying to fit into a group that has been, manipulated for them to believe they can be a part of, that we're so afraid to be a part of our mistakes and our difficult choices in life, because then people may not see us. But that's the illusion, is one must accept oneself rather than be accepted by the group. Because if you accept yourself, you'll always be a part of the group. And that's the key element within everything. It's just difficult to be alone. I think where a lot of people, when I try and help them, I'm like, look, there's like a period of loneliness through this thing, and it's gonna suck because you want to be, around energy, because you don't like to be by yourself, because you've avoided being with yourself for quite some time. So that period of loneliness is your transition.
I actually enjoy to be alone a lot, but I don't feel alone with the word. I associate now more on the plant base. So I have more connections with any flower in my yard, because every day I'm just kind of tour around, say hi to them, they are my family, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But with that, I think I become more compassionate with people. They don't know they have everything they already got. They are looking for more approval, permissions, and more of the accumulation, whatever they want to have.
Right.
Then don't even have time to slow down to say how beautiful their yards or their kids or their pets. They only think them they are as a part of the decoration of their life, but not respect them. They have their own energy. They have their own space. Um, you know, so once we allow ourselves to have more space, I have a program called Slow. Actually, it's the framework for people to kind of understand they have all the power within. The slow is really you have to self-aware you are not alone.
Okay.
And but you have all the power within, you have to start using them other to not against yourself, right? We using our mind sometimes in the wrong place.
Right. But it's just been
Yeah,
learned behavior. It's been taught to create patterns and habits that aren't good for us.
yeah,
But I think
yeah.
the accountability, like you're saying, like I said that so naturally and easily because I'm highly aware of it. But had have you said that to me when I was a drug addict, I would have been really confused, because I still love sugar and television and heroin or whatever, like, but it's
Yeah.
the truth. Like
But everybody has different addiction. It's not because the substance is addictive. Like my addiction is learning. I just couldn't stop learning because my mind always want entertainment. I want new knowledge. That's not addiction, right? Stop in the time I don't need knowledge, but I still want to ask for why. I need to have detail. That's addiction.
right. Yeah.
It's just like people don't think about, well, it's a good thing. You become smarter, but it's the intention behind the smart. If you're just curious, that's good smart.
Yeah.
But if you want to use to control others, you wanted to, like I'm arrogance, I know more than you have. That is not a good
Right.
intention. Both sides, right?
Yeah, and also, like, I have a friend also who she dives into books, and the books, I mean, it's reading, right? How could that be a problem? It is a problem because it distracts her from her personal growth and her practice, and she uses the books in that method. So you're right. It's a pattern of thinking. Like, addictions are just an inability to process emotions, or difficult emotional, like, traumatic experiences. But trauma is far more than physical and sexual abuse. It could just be a fear state that we've put ourselves in due to this, whether it was a divorce or not being seen, not being heard as a kid. And then we create these patterns, such as learning. I'm going to be the best student. Why? Because I don't want to get to know who I am. So everyone will think it's okay. And that happens.
Yes, yes, yeah. That is really the distraction. That's a deep, like we have a three-star codon. The gene is really a genetics. That's how I really fascinated about how we can combine biology, chemistry, metaphysics, ancient wisdom, and quantum science in one subject. Because there's a three-stop codon. Number 12, number 33, and number 56. And they all indicate in the low vibration that's a three human very difficult to break through. For example, 12 is the vanity. It's hard. It's a very hard to break through that vanity. You want to show up with approval, something like that. You want to be smart. You want to healthy. You want to feel you're in the flow. This is all vanity, right? And the number 33, the low vibe is forgetting. Like we don't even know who we are anymore.
Interesting. Interesting.
Right? So you kind of just stop in there. You don't even, you just confuse. And number 56, the lower is distraction. Just like you say, we find anything to occupy our attention because we don't want to learn who we are because we keep forgetting.
Right.
Then we keep want to vanish with our vanity.
Yeah.
So, you know, that dynamic, you can just see that is really in our genetics because we all programmed to be like that. But it's a purpose for that because once we experience so much of the distraction, forgetting, and vanity, we are just tired. We say, we still didn't get what I want. I'm still not happy.
Right.
So there must be something I missed. And that's how we start to go inner, right? To find out the answer.
Right.
That's how my turnaround I spent over 30 years to find out something, want to be happy. That's just really the top things. I don't care about money. I just want to feel peace and joy. Then I couldn't find anything 30 years and I still have a lot of issues, right? So I decided to just say, okay, if I find everywhere else, the only thing I didn't go is this. So I started to move down to my heart and I don't know. I don't understand what people talk about. Listen, speak from your heart. I said, what does that mean? How can you speak with the heart? There's no language. There's no vocal. There's no way to put a sound. So I just angry about what people kind of like. You don't really talk. I don't even experience that, right? But I just go ahead and try it, and I listen to music and do a little meditations and give myself space. And one day I just wake up and I say, I feel something is totally different. Okay. Like I don't feel worry, anything like that. And I don't feel like super happy either. It's just like nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. A balance. You found a balance.
Yeah.
And,
so I know, this is just too much thinking and seeking. Then I lost my own balance.
Right. And I think it's important, like for a language to talk about what you did there with the meditation and taking time for yourself. That's self-love and self-care. And there's so much pressure and expectation that comes with those two words, self-love and self-care, because people they seek it so bad, but we really don't have an understanding of what that is. But it's personal. It is just that. It is taking time for yourself, clearing some space for you to just be with you so that you can find that balance. And like you said, you're not happy, you're not sad, but you're in between. And that's at least, and that in between is the friggin' present moment. And it's like, okay, I'm here. I got it. Like, holy shit. Like, I'm taking some time. Like, where do I go from here? And I know it because I've done it too. And I do it like all the time still.
Once we experience that moment of the presentness, to be in there, observe yourself, then you have ability to do it. So then you don't really seeking out because you didn't do anything different.
Right.
But it happened. So that means we already got an ability, which is not unleash or embody them more.
Yeah.
So this is really the power within, right? Once we start to live in the real world and outside is just a reflection, outside is an illusion, we can have fun with it, we can enjoy the rides, but we need to have a way to go back to the real world.
And that's the practice. The way back in is you're right. Me, I'm an extrovert, I'm an introvert, I'm both. I can turn it on and turn it off however I want to do. But I find just as much joy just being inside of myself these days because it really, every time I go, you sit alone, you sit with yourself, you learn something new. You're like, okay, wow, I can open up energy inside of my body this way with yoga, or meditation, geez, there's so much expectation that comes with meditation, but I just let vibrational sounds flow over top of me and I feel it and I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just a journey, and that journey within, like you say, offers the most peace. It just and joy. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Well, the gene keys and the human design system that's part of a gene keys is really give us the hint, or somewhere we are different than others. So when people say visualization to create or something, I cannot do it because my design is not doing that. My design is different. Like my smell is more like that. So I can smell something, then I can create a reality, but I cannot create an image.
Well, interesting.
Not saying that I cannot. It's like my energy flow is not that natural. But for
Right.
somebody have a different flow of the energy connection, they can do that like easy peasy. But then I understand I don't need to be frustrated about what I cannot do. It's just something I need to aware my design so I know I don't need to be like them. I have my own way to experience life, and I become more accept. Like I don't need to chase. So I'm different than you, and your past is not my past. If I go on to your past, I will feel empty because
Right.
that's not me.
I love that. You tuned into your own gifts first rather than trying to be like everyone else. And that's a really key piece of information because we do that so easily because there's always an example of somebody having a different gift than us. And because we've learned to value that, what other people can
Yeah,
do and
yeah,
not what we can do, it
mhm,
distorts the journey. But that's a great place for people to
yeah,
start.
yeah.
And I love to bring these realizations to people. It's like just focus on what you're good at, and if you don't know what you're good at, then that's an opportunity for you to try new things, like backing up a 20-foot food truck. You can get good at that.
Do something totally crazy for a day or two, you
Right.
want to. But then, like me, I always commit something 7 years. But I didn't know that until I learned the gene key. That's the only way to fulfill the mission. Like everything we need committed at least 7 years. If we're not doing that, we're not finished that course, then something will come back to get us. So I don't know. I just kind of naturally say, okay, that's 7 years. Like my first marriage is 7 years. My food truck is 7 years, but I try to sell. I stay 3 years to sell it, so it's 10 years. But everything I do, if I commit to that 7 years, usually it's the right place, timing to move on. But if I don't believe that, I want to hold on, want to change, I want to interfere, and that's how the suffer coming from.
Right.
Because
Interfering.
we need to shift the 7. That's actually stem cell cycle too. So genetic, we divide it every 7 years. Every cells within our body is brand new. We have skin cell, every day, but completely the whole cell from your inner to outer is 7 year cycle. So once we committed to something, our single cell actually experience that frequency, experience emotion, whatever.
Right.
Then that is the time they can upgrade to the next level. And we can also do every moment. We don't need to wait for 7 years, but there's a process. We learn something every 7 years. So if we skip that, we want to go, everything want to happen yesterday.
Right.
We want to do that kind of thing, then we're missing the opportunity to really heal or really become wholeness again, because we believe this outside is always better.
Right.
So you skip that, you jump, then you go to the place, maybe it's in the higher in the mountain, but it's totally empty because you didn't fulfill that 7 years commitments in our soul
Right.
agreements.
So there's a shift, a transition that takes place after the 7 years. And that commitment is something that's difficult to be a part of because we've been programmed to want everything in a week. But even if we were to, try and skip over that 7-year process and we do try to move to this other place, it will be empty when we arrive there because the evolutionary process that is biochemical, biochemical, it has not finished its
It
process.
is really all this frequency will trigger our hormone system. So the hormone will create some chemicals, right? Then you behave differently. That's how we have 2 or 3 years old kids, they are really the center of the universe. That's their hormone system is they have to set out the self-awareness. So they have to push out their boundary, you know. But you're a teenager, that's different. You have an emotion. The time you mature your emotion needs, then you will have a strategy to deal with the emotion up and down because you just don't know what to do, what not to do. So you become very crazy in the teenager puberty years. So we create some strategy based on what we think is good for us then.
Right.
But you will grow up every 7 years, you will have different experience. You will maybe choose different career or you have different likes or dislike. It's really just a process for us to collect all the information. Then we finally can be more on the top. We know who we are. But if we don't do that kind of thing, we don't face our challenge and fears and using the wrong strategies first, and then we're never able to really get out and become who you really is.
That's funny. I had 2 7-year commitments as well. The first marriage I was in, it was 7 years. I immediately did not learn anything from that, so I made this exact same mistake again in my life because I didn't love myself. So I was trying to be with people and I didn't love myself. So I met another girl and did the same thing with her. It was 7 years and that destroyed. And then after that, I had my moment where I had come out of all of my difficulties, and I'm in this 7 year transitionary period now. I'm in my fourth year. So yeah, that puts a lot of perspective. Are you a Scorpio?
Cancers.
Are you Cancer?
I
I was
just passed. Right now it's a Leo, right? So yeah.
like you just have so much similarities to me with like your thought processes and your evolutionary state and how you see things, and I was like, wow, I wonder what her sun sign is. So no, that's I was just thinking about that the whole time. I was like, I gotta ask her. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. Well, I think everybody, just like we can choose whoever we want to be, just the confidence and with the curiosity. For me, it's really I love to watch movie. So after I get semi-awake and I start to look at my own movie and I say, wow, that is a fun one. And I do this, I do food truck and do restaurant, this and that. Then I was just thinking about, well, what I really want to do. I have to start to create that movie then, right?
Right.
Because we can flow with whatever we experience, but not necessarily that will be it. Any
Right.
moment, anytime we want to shift, we want to experience different things, we can start to create.
Absolutely. And I think that, at the end of all of this, we've been led to believe that ones and zeros in a bank account will provide you freedom because you've made it to this magical place called retirement. When in reality, you had better have many pages in the story of, Peiming, Justin, Rachel, Thomas, whatever the heck your friggin' name is. It's the experience at the end that you take with you. And that's how the soul transcends with the information. The information is the gift. It's just
Yeah.
whether or not we're afraid to try and to obtain some of those pages.
Yeah, well, right now I just say we are all the way to get back to where we come from, right? So we will have a moment to start to remember what we agreed to do or whatever we did before. Um, but then also the distraction can become less and less because we're not like young, jumping around and have a lot of energy, right? We become more kind of reserved.
Yeah.
So we will have more of the moment to be alone, and that's a distraction become less and less.
Right.
Then also the other vanity is like, I already got something to experience when I'm young. I already have more fun and drama and live through. And when I finally get to the points, I really don't need to prove myself.
Yes, exactly.
So then you kind of reverse that, all the distraction, forgetting, and vanity.
Yeah, and you just exist. Like you are. You just, there's no need for any of that. Like even for myself, like no sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol, no tobacco, things like this. It's like they just like those were things that I introduced into my body because I had parts of me that needed more work. So I used those things as a tool to say, okay, what area of myself needs to be healed to find that acceptable? because it's unacceptable. Like if I'm on this transitionary state of evolution, like I mean, geez, these things hold me back.
But in a way, you appreciate that experience, so you can have a contrast, right? You don't
Right.
need to live that way anymore. So they still serving the purpose for you.
Well, I believe Buddha, like I don't know much about the story or anything like that, but I do know that he was a man that tried many, many things before he understood what the attachments were and how they weren't serving him. If he didn't try all of those things, he would have
Mm,
never known what to let go
yeah.
of. So I
Mhm.
say the same thing. I mean, get out there, try things. I don't really encourage people to try heroin and things like that, but I certainly would encourage you to go out and try things in the world. Because take it from me, heroin's not fun. Like it
Mhm.
sucks, and most people that are using that are using it to hide from a piece of themselves. But yeah, we've got to sometimes, like you say, those distractions are the keys that can guide us to the places inside of ourselves that need to be healed. It's just the repetitive action of that doesn't allow us to even seek that understanding anymore because we've become so
Mhm.
consumed with the addiction. And I loved how
Yeah.
you said even with learning, like I mean, learning can be put in there as well.
Yeah, that's one of my shadow. The first time I say intellect is the shadow, I'm totally like angry on that statement. So how come intellect can be a shadow?
Right,
And more I get into the spirituality, I say, yeah, exactly. You know, intellect always want to see facts.
right,
And energy, there's no way to prove anything. You can
right.
only feel things. So if you only want to, I have to see it before I believe it, then you just limit yourself for a 99% of the reality.
I love how you said that you don't have to see it, you have to feel it to believe it. I would, man, that's the thing that like I'm trying to teach people. Your intuition, your feeling, your understanding of something more, your higher self is teaching you outside of institutions and academia, because I don't really believe in intelligence. I think that was a misconception that was placed in us within the education system to have us feel dumb. And I don't really believe in dumb either. I think that we have levels of awareness. And once we achieve certain states of awareness, it's our duty to see our brothers and sisters that are still have a block within them to help share some of the awareness that we have within our lives. Now, whether or not they do anything with it, that's up to them and their journey. But I
Yeah.
feel that it's my responsibility to share what I have, and that's why I do what I do, because if we
Mhm.
all don't get to the same place, I mean, it's just going to take longer.
Yeah. But again, we do need a contrast to move the whole evolution. So we cannot be everybody doing the same thing because this is not the purpose for the universe. Universe really just want us to do the harmony.
Right,
So when we do certain things, if we don't have a guilt, then that's okay. You know, we don't like, for example, the forest. No one, if the forest can be beautiful, it's because they got grass, they got bushes, they got big trees, they got all kind of different plants, right? But if everybody only just want to be a big trees, then they cannot be surviving as a forest because there's no enough sun to share about everything. So in a big tree, falling down and die, and from one genetic, because they're a tree, certain genetics, but when they fall down, they feed the bacteria, feed other things, and then actually their energy bring into all different life. So it's really just the circle of a life. We do what we can do in that moments, but we don't feel we are little. We
no,
just feel we are part of the whole. Yeah. Mhm.
right, but I think just the ability to share and meet people where they're at was just the same as the analogy as the forest. Like when the tree falls over in the forest, it one perception could be where it's dead, but if you meet it where it's at, it's actually giving nutrients back to the whole floor. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's yeah, that's what I meant by sharing the awareness. But yeah, that was great. That's great. I appreciate you so much. How do you I'm going to use this as a podcast, by the way.
Yeah, I like it. I think we flow with a lot of great point here.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I know. And this is the beauty of the whole podcast. And I'm just learning and I'm just growing and I like you guys joining this serving circle group has been so great because I got to meet all you guys, and you all have wonderful stories because you're doing work within yourselves. And I had a guy come on and try and talk about some business, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't talk business, man. Like I don't really see any value in it. It's really hard for me. So I shifted that conversation too, and I was able to talk about human experience within that. But it's beautiful to have been a part of this community because this is new for me. I have been in a period of stillness myself for the last 4 years. Certainly, I've been making connections, but nothing like the doors have opened in the recent month, I would say. It's
Yeah,
it's just been incredible. Like the doors are swinging open, and that's the results of our work, though, right? And I mean within myself. Of course, I'm working externally for me, but whenever I turn my attention totally in on myself, the external world just is like, here, Justin, here's the reward for doing all that work. Just keep going, man. See what you can do with this life.
yeah, exactly. We are really not limited anyway. It's just our imagination limited ourselves. Oh, I can only go that far. I'm the human. Like
Right.
we don't even know what it means to be a real human yet,
Right.
because we live into this lie so long. We don't even have any, because like if everything's based on the past experience. So if we never experienced in the past, then we don't have any energy to create, to make that become a real thing.
Right.
Just like it's so many study in the past, the people never see white people in the boats when they come in at the shore. They don't see the boat because they don't have image about what it is. So it's so hard for them to understand, okay, those Spanish people coming on the shore through a boat or ship, and they just like, where is that?
All right.
Until somebody start to create an image and they share around their tribe, then people start to see the boats
And
outside the
understand.
shore. So it's really our mind is really the filter, right? We choose what we want to see.
Yeah.
And a lot of things is just not inside our awareness, but we are getting there. We are shipping higher and higher in the consciousness. Then eventually everybody will start to see, oh,
Yeah.
there's more color outside the rainbows.
And I think that's community as well, right? Like what we're doing here, like just having these conversations and
Yeah.
expanding the awareness through these tools. And this is really a way to do it. So I appreciate you for today. Thank you so much.
No
Hey,
problem.
how do people get a hold of you? How do people get in touch with you to check out the Gene Key or and anything you're doing?
Yeah, I have a page. People can go in and to see all my heart-based services and maybe interest about the mini reading. I provide 30 minutes free mini readings about their profile. The site is called Keys, of course, http/, www.keys for Prosperity Club.
Keys
So
for
keys
Prosperity
for
Club?
prosperityclub.com. And there's all things I offer actually weekly with masterclass in Zoom. So people will like to get more of the ancient wisdom and how to restore, understand their body, how to build habits, because I'm the habit coach. And they can start to implement things and they will see the difference about their reality, like how they feel in the past, maybe unhappy and stuff like that, but they can start to see differences. So keys for prosperity, prosperityclub.com, we have other things in there.
Yeah, and I think it's just great for people to have a resource to go to, and it's like anything you try for your personal growth is just going to teach you something new about yourself. So I think that's where the greatest benefit comes from. That's why I try and bring people on that just can offer resources because, I might not speak the way somebody needs to really be inspired to navigate their own life, but Peiming, you might have that for some people, and it may not be you, and then there might be another guest, So that's the beauty of our experiences is that we can connect with certain people at certain points in their life to just grow and take what we need and leave the rest, And it's just that's the beauty of growth and community.
Yes, yes, yes. Because the ultimate goal is really finding ourselves or not finding ourselves. It's like realizing
Yes.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So we are all in this fun journey, there's no right timing, or sooner or later. It's just the commitment. If that's your commitment, eventually we will go there.
Yeah, and the value. Like if you see value in yourself and you're so curious, like you said, about discovering and remembering who you are and what you're capable of doing, and that becomes something that you get excited about, it'll be the thing that you do in this life because
Yeah.
you get a taste of it and you're like, oh my gosh, like I can do anything. And you're okay if you fall down many, many times along the way of doing anything because you're learning. And that's the beauty.
Yeah, that's how we go through the shadow first.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's a wonderful thing for people to begin to think about. So I appreciate you so much for today and letting me turn this 30-minute interview into a podcast. And I'd love to check out one of your master classes and maybe we'll bring you back on and you and I can discuss that a little more in depth. I'll understand it a little more. And uh,
Sure.
yeah, I love me, like I told you, I'm all about human behavior and human experience. And I think that getting to know someone before I know what they're doing and they're into is everything to me and to anyone listening as well, because we create like kind of a connection, you know? It's like, okay, Pei Ming,
Yes.
I get it. She was divorced. She was a single mother. She has two kids. She has one child that needs a little more attention. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now she backs up 20-foot food trucks and things like, you know what I mean? It's like, now I know you. Like, okay, cool. What you got to teach me kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, but I also appreciate Justin. It's not easy to get out that deep addiction, and also, don't have a role model or something, and you're confused about a lot of things. That 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 show everybody you got courage. You really coming here for a purpose, and you are fulfilling that agreement. So I really happy we connected, and who knows, more people like us, because we have conversations and they start to have their own past to remember themselves.
And that's why I do it. It's like this gift that I got. It was just because I asked for it, and I surrendered my love, and I was like, okay, like I don't have it all figured out. I'm cool with that. But then you cultivate this gift rather than accumulate it. It's like, oh wait, I mean, I have the power to do this. You're just like you said. My purpose is to share that. So not like I grow if everyone grows. So it's like that's where we're all meeting in this same circle. And I actually love the journey I was on. It's as difficult as it is from, a realistic perspective of what society views addiction as. It's great because it's like, okay, people can associate with that level of difficulty. But again, with your story, it's like, I can't take away from that. A single mother with two kids, even if you were a scientist, I mean, you're trying to balance your academic life with your home life, with your personal life, and find stillness and find balance and balance the checkbooks. It's like, and cook with energy. I mean, like you are that is where I really like people to see, like, all of our experiences are equally as difficult to the individual that's experiencing them because we're all the ones holding
Mhm.
all the friggin' weight. Uh,
Exactly. We hold the keys so tight, no one can really open the door for us until we decide to turn
Right,
it.
exactly. So I'm grateful for you walking through your door as well and saying that's enough. I actually got this tattoo. I'll show you here. I don't wait a minute.
Oh, keys.
How am I gonna do that?
Yeah.
I got the two keys and the two keys. One is to lock yourself in and one is to lock yourself out. Like
Mm.
set yourself free. Sorry. So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
all possess
Beautiful.
the keys, right? And it's just
Uh,
which one you're willing to use because you don't need to find them and no one else has them. You've got them. You just got
so
to.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It just like we need to just turn on the lights. There's all in there. But when we turn on the lights, if we see something we don't want to see, but we do
Right.
to need to turn on the lights in order to see the door. So
Exactly. And if anyone listening to this is, looking to grow personally, all my social media links are below and my emails below, and I'll put Peiming's information below, and you can connect with us because that's what this is about. We build communities based on connection and communication and vulnerability, and we're two individuals who are totally cool with that. So I just encourage other people to be cool with that in your life, and if the people around you are not cool with your vulnerability, you need to find yourself some new people because there's 8 billion people on the planet and we all got time for that. So much love, Peiming. I appreciate you so much.
thank you, Justin.
Thank
Take care.
you. Ciao.